Razabani for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're here in beautiful Bournemouth. I never thought I'd be doing a public workout on the beach of Bournemouth, Ben. Well done.
I've never been to Bournemouth, it's beautiful. When they said it was on the beach, I didn't know they meant actually on the beach, but no, it's amazing. It's really good, and the turnout, they're just so excited that Sky Sports and boxing is here, and it's incredible. It's setting up for an unbelievable week.
Chris Billiamson's been dying for this opportunity for a long time. What was the difference? Why were you able to bring him here and others not?
I think it's just the right fight. You know, it's okay coming here and him just fighting everyday fight, but Isaac Chamberlain, I think boxing fans want to see Isaac back. He sort of went into the wilderness after the Okoli fight, and he was 23. He'd only had 9 fights. I think people forget, and now we've seen how awkward Lawrence is and what he's gone on to achieve and become world champion. 4 years later, Isaac is now stepping right back into the headline spot on Sky Sports. He's waited for his time. He's got his fights back in the bank, and I think he feels mentally, physically ready, and that's what makes it so exciting. But fair play for Chris Billiam-Smith. He wanted this fight so much that he's prepared to put his European, his Commonwealth titles on the line, and whoever wins this is really then in world title mix, like with Richard and Lawrence and what their fights next. It's going to be exciting to see what happens. But I feel like this is number 3 and number 4 in Britain, and the winner and the loser are going to go on to winner obviously goes on to world titles, and the loser will be back in the British mix, which is very exciting in the cruiserweight division. So yeah, incredible fight, and a great undercard for us as well.
Is the cruiserweight division something that you're paying extra attention to? Obviously the 2 gentlemen here, Mikhail Lowell on the undercard, Richard, there's been talks about Okoli, and there's others coming through the ranks. Is it a division where you think you can maximise on?
I think to be honest, it's just happened like that. Mikhail Lowell we've always worked with. Richard Riakporhe we took right at the start of our journey 12 months ago with Sky, and he's now bordering on world titles. So I think it's happened. I think it's an exciting division. I think it's a competitive division. Obviously the heavyweight scene in the UK scene is sort of tied up, so we had to look at what we could get, and now when we look at it with Jack Massey, Mikhail Lowell, Isaac Chamberlain, Chris Billiam-Smith, Lawrence Okoli, Richard Riakporhe, you could almost do a 8-man boxer series tournament with what's going on. So it's good, and it's great for boxing, and it means these guys can fight each other and come again, because there's enough fighters out there, and definitely a very exciting division, and excited. I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday.
A lot of hype. Ben Whittaker. Everyone thought he was going to go over to Dazn and Eddie Hearn, and boom, all of a sudden, he said to me himself, he goes, overnight, I just said, you know what, Sky's the place for me. That's out the way now. I've spoken to you about Adam Azim and how excited you've been about Adam's journey. How excited you can be about Ben, because he's completely different but brings almost the same attention that Adam does. Yeah,
it's good to make that comparison actually. Adam's moved extremely quickly, obviously only 19 years old, whilst Ben, we were trying to sign him last July. It's now July the 30th and he's only just making his pro debut, so it has been a long journey, but yeah, incredibly excited. I think inside Sky Sports they've seen stars come from Prince Nas to Eubank to all the Anthony Joshua, David Hay. They've seen stars come through that machine. They're more excited than anything before, or at least equal, and that makes us very excited. I've never seen, out of all the guys that we signed, so much anticipation for a debut. Sugar Hill has decided, you know what, he could train any fighter in the world. He's dedicating himself to Ben Whittaker. He wants to be over in the UK as much as possible, and everything's set for Ben now. And we know he's got the confidence, we know he's got the technique, we know he's a skillful boxer. He's adding that punch power to his game, and he's one to watch, and I think everyone can see that. And when we're looking at the retirements of Amir Khan, of Kell Brook, and obviously Carl Froch a few years ago, and Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury may be getting towards the end of their careers, it's important we have those future superstars. We feel Ben Whittaker is that star.
Rest of the card, obviously Fraser Clark's back after that hand injury, Callan Dubois, Hassan Azim, you've got Lee Cutler on the show as well. So yeah, stacked card with experience and obviously your up and coming prospects.
Yeah, Fraser obviously debuted on Khan Brook, had that late opponent that I think everyone talked about wasn't what we wanted, and then got injured, and it's frustrating because he's 30 years old. We want to move fast, got a lot of talent. We think he can do really well in the pro game. It's good to have him back. I didn't think he'd be back this early, and we've got him, and he's going to be out regularly now, and he's got a tough opponent as well, which is good because he's stepping up, he's ready to go. And Caroline Dubois, just keeps rising to the occasion and on these big shows. So it's like a milestone. This is like a fun show for us. A year on, we've got all the Olympians that we wanted on the show. We've got a great main event, and it's a good feeling about this show. And it's sort of the turn of the year. The first year was so difficult getting the fighters in and making sure that we built and built and built. And now we're moving to the second year. We've got our stable and we're ready to go.
A couple of shows you've announced. Obviously, Florian Marku finally gets that dream fight in his home country of Albania. You've announced obviously a Liverpool card with Liam Smith, Savannah Marshall, obviously includes the shoot September 10th. So quite a strong schedule towards the back end of August and early September.
Yeah, it's busy. Bigger stable now, bigger commitments. We wanted Liam Smith to fight Chris Eubank Jr. and we still do. We think that's the right fight for Chris. And but we promised we get him out very early, back into Liverpool. We hope to add Tasha Jonas on that card very, very soon. Dan Aziz against Shakan Pitters, huge light heavyweight clash as well. Adam Azim back out, who should hopefully after this show he's going to be headlining shows for us. So Liverpool card, then Shields Marshall and Maya Baumgartner. So it's a busy start. Hopefully next week we get to announce the new date for Fury Hunter, and Joseph Parker's got a big announcement that I think fans will be happy with as well. So busy summer. We've been quiet, we've been working away, we've been wanting to make sure we get the fights that our fighters want, and we're ready for September and we can't wait.
Joseph Parker headlining a show or on the undercard of one of the shows announced?
No, Joseph Parker, I think we've got a big, it's going to be good. I think it's good for him, I think it's good for the fans. I think it's a fight that people want, and it's a
signed.
It's the best fight. We hope. I hope next week we can bring good news to Joseph Parker fans and fight fans in general.
The reason I say signed is because there's always hype built up and then the fight doesn't take place. And I'll move on to Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. I know their fathers were legends of the British sport, but when you heard about the fight first, what was your reaction?
I think everyone sort of had it in the back of their minds the whole time. I certainly did. Seems a bit early, but no disrespect. I think it's a huge commercial fight. I think maybe it could be built over a longer period, and it could become an even bigger fight. I think the thing with Conor and Chris, they're getting to exciting points in their career. Eubank Jr. is just getting to the point where Charlo's calling him out. He's got the Liam Smith fight there as well, which I think is a big fight that the fans want to see as well. And Conor's also getting to that stage where it's becoming exciting, and I would prefer them to go on and do what they can in their divisions, and that's a massive fight eventually that they can both take at any time. But we'll see. It's up to Wasserman what they want to do with Chris, and Matchroom what they want to do with Conor, and yeah, we'll see.
How are the dynamics with Chris Eubank? Because obviously he's a Sky fighter, right? With Wasserman, obviously. So what are those dynamics like when it regards to him now going on another platform? Do you have to consent? Do you have to give permission, or?
I think it is difficult. I mean, our understanding is Chris Eubank Jr. is a Sky Sports fighter. Obviously, we've seen the rumours like everyone else, and yeah. But again, we're not the promoter of Chris Eubank Jr. Wasserman organise his fights and really make the final decision on what he does, and that's it really. It's not a fight we would be involved in at this stage. But we want to see Chris Eubank Jr. on the big fights. I'm a massive Chris Eubank Jr. fan, I'll be honest. I know he gets a lot of critics. I think he had that Billy Joe Saunders fight that was extremely close early on in his career. The George Groves fight, I felt like maybe if he had a trainer in his corner and a bit more of a game plan, he would have come out on top. So now for me is the time where Chris is looking in his prime, and he should be getting towards the world scene now and fighting for world titles, and that's what I prefer him to do. But at the same time, I understand the commercial value of that fight.
A couple of years ago, Eddie Hearn said that pay-per-view was dead. Earlier this year, he said that pay-per-view will be available on Dazn for the marquee fighters, the Joshuas, the Canelos, the superstars. He did an interview yesterday with IFL, and he said that if Conor Benn Eubank was made, it will be on pay-per-view. Thoughts?
I think we all say things that change and that we regret, and yeah, look, I don't know, things change, business models change, market changes, and big fights need to happen. And look, everyone's just trying to make the biggest fights they possibly can. It's for their broadcasters, for their fighters, and that's it. And as I say, things change. and fair enough. And I believe that for the very, very biggest fights, to be able to make them happen, you have to go pay-per-view. We've seen that with Aj-Usyk and the price. Sometimes it has to happen, unfortunately, because these fighters have a lot of competitors and a lot of competition, and they want to make the biggest money they possibly can. I think the key is to try and give as much value outside of those pay-per-view events that you can, and I think Eddie tries to do that. And if he needs to do a pay-per-view from time to time because of a certain fight, fair enough.
Obviously announced 48 hours ago, Sky picked up the rights for Joshua Usyk. Not sure if this is a question for you. I would ask Adam Smith, but Eddie said that this was signed over 3 weeks ago. So what's taken it so long to announce?
I don't think it was signed over 3 weeks ago. I think we had an understanding 3 weeks ago. We worked hard on it. We represent Sky. We want to make sure Sky has the best fights, and between us all, it's landed on Sky, and we think it's just a huge fight. And I'm hoping to have a couple of slots there for a few of our fighters, and hopefully we can announce that in the next few days. But it's a massive event for British boxing, massive fight for Anthony Joshua, and it's a huge occasion, and I think every broadcaster wanted that fight. And to be honest, my understanding is it wasn't the highest bidder. Sky weren't the highest bidder, but I think the Saudis own the event. They have a bigger picture for what they want to do, and I think they looked at the full thing and decided that Sky was the best place for their event.
I interviewed Eddie a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me that it will be a matchroom show. There will be no Sky fighters on this show. Now, obviously, since then, the undercard has been announced, and Eddie has his Ramla Ali's, Callum Smiths, but there are other fighters like Tyrone Sprong, Badu Jack on the card as well. So it looks like it's just not matchroom fighters. So are we definitely going to see some boxer fighters on the undercard?
Yeah, I believe so. We one or two. Nothing. Look, we're not the promoter of that event, 100%. We helped with the Sky deal, and Sky got the rights, but the Saudis are the promoters. They own the rights, everything, the kingdom, and they decide what happens. And I think, they decide what happens. That's why you've seen different fighters on there. As you said, Badu Jack, a lot of matchroom fighters, and it's up to them what they do.
Eddie said the deal didn't make sense for Dazn. It doesn't make sense for Sky, but they did it for other reasons. What are those other reasons?
I don't know. They wanted the biggest fight of the year. They wanted the biggest fight of the year. They've had AJ this whole career. AJ made the decision that his final fights will be on Dazn. There was a huge amount of money, and you've got to respect that. It becomes a no-brainer at that stage of your career. And but this was a fight Sky really wanted, and it was a fight that they really wanted to broadcast, really wanted to promote, and genuinely, that is the reason. Of course they're going to want to fight. They've had Anthony Joshua throughout his whole career. Why would they not want potentially the biggest fight of his whole career? And they've got a lot of respect for him. I know there's still a great relationship there, and I think they're just delighted that they got the fight. And I think everyone can see why they would want Aj-Usyk on Sky Sport.
Ben, do you think it's bizarre that Dazn didn't go all out for this fight, considering this is the most important fight of Anthony's career to date? Like, I mean, if he loses, I'm not saying, he's not worth anything. Of course, he has a great market attraction, but the appeal, people might lose that slight appeal. Isn't this a fight that they should have taken rather than future fights beyond Usyk?
I think everyone wanted it. I think the Saudis made the decision based on money, exposure, everything that they wanted, what's going to generate the most attention, which is what essentially they are trying to do with this event.
So the Saudis wanted Sky?
Yeah, 100% they wanted Sky, and they felt like it was the best place for the fight, and I believe it is. Sky believed it was, but I know that every broadcaster was trying so hard to get that fight, because there aren't many bigger fights in boxing than this fight.
Obviously, slight price increase, $26.95, so that has gone up. Is it because Sky pumped in a lot of money? They want to recoup some of that back, obviously, as well?
Look, I think I'm aware this is a tough time for everyone, even some of our staff. It's hard at the moment, and we are trying to limit pay-per-views as much as possible. I think we've done one since we started Carnbrook, and we've had Taylor Cattrall and Eubank and Shields Marshall. Not saying that they would have been pay-per-views, but we are trying to do as big a fight nights as we can that don't add to people's, the payments that they have to make. But certain fights obviously are going to be pay-per-view, and AJ's been fighting for $24.95. It's a couple of pounds extra. I think we all know why it's a couple of pounds extra. It's been that competitive, but it's also the biggest fight of AJ's career, and that's a thing that they had to do, and any broadcaster would have had to do. And but I am completely understanding. Like I want as much boxing as possible for free, but as I said before when I was talking about Eddie, some fights demand pay-per-view because the fighters can earn that much money. It's not about the broadcasters making money, it's about the fighters. They have that many options, they need to generate the most money to cover the fight.
Just finally, next week, Jake Paul, Hashim Rahman Jr. What do you think?
Yeah, Jake Paul, I like Jake Paul. He keeps stepping up. I think this is a step up. It doesn't matter what people say, it's still a pro boxer and it's a much heavier guy, so it's a big test for him. And yeah, it's good. I think Jake Paul, we love Jake Paul to fight Vidal Riley. I know Vidal really wants that fight. He's obviously got the history there, and he's a serious fighter. But fair play to Jake. Feel sorry for Tommy. I think he did nothing wrong. I don't know why he wasn't let in. He's never done anything that suggests that he shouldn't be allowed in, and he's missed on a massive opportunity, a massive payday. So good for Tommy, but fair play to Jake because he's taking a big fight.
Okay, Ben, anything else you like to add before we finish?
Fury Hunter announcement next week. Looking forward to that. Obviously, get a lot of questions about what happened and when's it happening. But Huey's fit now. It's a big fight for Huey and for Michael, so it'll be announced next week. And then Joseph Parker, big move for him next week as well, hopefully. And we move on.
Fury Hunter. Obviously, you've already got 2 shows in September. So will that be in October or will that September? Or?
Just looking at it now, it will be in October, I think. As early as possible, be in October.
What are your plans for the rest of the week? Sunbathe?
Enjoy it. Unbelievable settings. It's been a year since we started on Sky. It's a big celebration for the team. I think they're enjoying it. It's the beach. It feels fun. We've got all our Olympians on here. Massive 50-50 fighter as well on top guard. It's good vibes with this one. Really enjoying it.
Ben Shalom, IFL TV. Thank you very much.
Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.